Today is November 14th, 1980, and we're coming upon this year's election. We have Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan as our candidates. Let's see what they're up to.
Hello, America. I'm your Democratic nominee in this election. I promise to help our country with inflation and unemployment through carefully selecting spending programs and tax cuts, as well as focus on conservation to help with the energy crisis. Unlike Reagan's proposition to surrender to the merchants of oil, vote Carter for president.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's Ronald Reagan, your Republican candidate. I'm confident in us, America. I believe that we can improve the economy as long as we implement a strategy of growth. To do this, I will cut income taxes and the government's regulation on businesses. Instead of focusing on conservation, I would focus more towards the energy production. Let's get America back and stand tall.
Interesting to hear from both sides. After this short break, we want to hear from you, America.
This is a man whose time has come, a strong leader with a proven record. In 1966, answering the call of his party, Ronald Reagan was elected governor of California. Next to president, the biggest job in the nation. What the new governor inherited was a state of crisis. California was faced with a $194 million deficit and was spending $1 million a day more than it was taking in. The state was on the brink of bankruptcy. Governor Reagan became the greatest tax reformer in the state's history. When Governor Reagan left office, the $194 million deficit had been transformed into a $550 million surplus. The San Francisco Chronicle said, Governor Reagan has saved the state from bankruptcy. The time is now for strong leadership. Reagan for president.
And we're back. Let's check in with Claudia live at the Neshoba County Fair, where Reagan just completed his speech on states' rights.
Hi, I'm here from the LCM News broadcast. I'm here with a random person from the streets of Neshoba. So I was wondering what your views are on this year's presidential candidates.
As a yuppie, I favor Reagan. I think he's really good at ideas and would help immensely.
Definitely. There, would you mind telling me what inflation is and who you think would do a better job at controlling it?
I don't know. I heard there was food here. Do you know where the hot dog stand is?
Oh, no.
Brad!
Oh,
Brad!
oh,
Hey,
boy.
Brad!
Oh, okay. So what political party do you associate yourself with?
I'm more on the Republican side because lately I feel like the Democrats have been getting too comfortable in their positions.
For sure. As you can see, there are many different opinions. We'll just have to see what happens on voting day. Back to you, Maddie.
Thank you, Claudia. That's all we have for you tonight. Tune in next time on LCM News.
Each day, the world's most important information flows into the Oval Office. And when the Chief of State travels out into the world as our principal representative, he must carry at his fingertips a vast fund of ever-changing information about nations, relations, and people.
This will be the fourth Economic Summit Conference, and I approach it with optimism.
Whether at an economic summit or at the funeral of a Japanese prime minister, President Carter represents this nation with intelligence and dignity. He has built an enduring relationship with the People's Republic of China, and he has established working friendship with a range of world leaders. Like many Americans, they have come to respect the dedication, the humanity, and the good sense of President Jimmy Carter.
Hello all. With us today we have a live speech given to us by Ronald Reagan, our newest president.
Thank you all. Let's quiet down really quick. Okay. This is, let me just say, first of all, this has been the most humbling moment of my life. Thank you for the support from all my family and from all of you. I consider the trust that all of you have put in me as sacred, and I give you all my sacred oath that I will do my utmost to justify your faith. Winning 49 out of the 50 states, as well as Senate races, I am so thrilled to say that the Reagan administration has full control of the body for the first time since 1954. With this win, I am also proud to announce that we have received 33 seats in the House of Representatives, which is more than I could have asked for. But it is all thanks to the people of this nation who believe that there is still and will forever be a Reagan revolution.
Now, Let's see what Jimmy Carter has to say about the outcome.
Hello, America. I promised you 4 years ago that I would never lie to you, so I can't stand in front of you tonight and say it doesn't hurt. The people of the United States have made their decision, and I accept the decision even though it pains me. I called Governor Reagan and congratulated him for the amazing victory he had. I can't wait to work closely with him during the next few weeks and make sure the transition is smooth.
Well, there you have it, folks. Ronald Reagan is your president-elect. We'll be back right after this short break. Please don't go anywhere.
When we're on a Death Valley day set and water's not handy, Barexo waterless hand cleaner really cleans up for us. Just a dab. Removes paint, grease, tar, carbon, ink, even plain dirt. Anytime, anywhere, without water. The whole crew swears by Barexo waterless, and so will you. Meanwhile, back at our ranch, where there's plenty of water, our daughter Patty has another tip for you.
Marvelous, Daddy. Barexo powdered hand soap. Looks like this on your grocery shelf. And so pretty. Like this on your kitchen or bathroom sink. Powdered Barexo washes the whole family's hands really clean and leaves them soft and smooth.
So in the workshop, on the road, wherever water is not handy, make sure that Barexo waterless is.
And for everyday hand washing, remember Barexo powdered hand soap.
2 fine hand cleaning products from U.S. Borax. Keep them both handy.
And we're back. Let's see how America feels about the new president-elect. We have Jennifer here with us from Current Events to update us.
Hi, I'm right outside of the election and I'm here asking people how they thought it went. So, did the election turn out how you wanted it to?
I was for Reagan, so this is exactly what I would have wanted. As a woman, I am excited to see what he'll do for us in the workforce. Reagan Revolution.
Do you agree with all of Reagan's proposals for our country?
No, I don't personally. I don't think that his Recovery Tax Act will even be effective to our economy situation. So no, I was really planning on him winning, but whatever.
Alright, thanks. Now back to you at the studio.
Well, we'll just have to see how everything fizzles out. Join us next time on LCM News. Hello, America. It's now February 27th, 1981. Our new president, Ronald Reagan, has taken a seat in the Oval Office, and he is there to stay. And lucky enough for us, we have him here today with us to talk about his presidency so far.
Hi, it's been great so far, Maddie. I was so surprised and honored to have won the election with such large margins. I do have my concerns, though. It is thought that terrorism will increase, but I will work hard to prevent that.
As for the economy, how do you plan to help in that aspect?
I plan to create more jobs for Americans, and I also have an idea for creating a Recovery Tax Act that would reduce individual income tax, and there would also be incentives for saving and for small businesses. Not only that, but I plan to help low-income families with their financial status by lowering unemployment.
Knowing that you're against communism, how do you intend to deal with it?
That's a great question. My administration will keep a close eye on Latin America and other countries in the world with the threat of communism. It is dangerous to everyone, and I will do my best to prevent it.
Thank you so much for your insight. We are all very excited to see your success during your term. That's all the time we have for today. Please join us next time on LCM News.
You're so amazing. You shine like the stars.
This baby is your future.
You're so amazing. You shine like the stars.
This baby has the potential to be the next president, the next Einstein, the next human.
You're so amazing. You shine like the stars.
Join Ronald Reagan and stop abortion today.
Good afternoon, America. I'm your host, Maddie. Thank you for tuning in on this marvelous day, June 17th, 1988. With us today, we have a lecture given to us by our current events experts, Jen Katz and Carly Birch.
Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into today's lecture. Today I'm going to talk about Reagan's foreign and domestic policies. I am going to start off with foreign policies. One of Reagan's top concerns is the spread of communism. The Reagan administration has put a lot of effort in fighting communism in all of Latin America and first put his focuses on Nicaragua, Cuba, and El Salvador. He is very committed to anti-Soviet groups all around the world and puts a lot of time and effort and money into supporting them. Now touching on the topic of the Cold War, the Reagan administration had seemed to increase in military spending because the Soviets were spending a lot of money on their military, and Reagan felt that there was an unsafe balance there. The Cold War seemed to be coming to an end, and President Reagan seemed to want to slowly get rid of the ongoing arms race and was happening between the United States and the USSR. Later, Reagan and the USSR leader signed a treaty that got rid of some of the nuclear weapons and stopped producing as many nuclear weapons. In 1884, Ronald Reagan made a pretty big change in the United States foreign aid policy by getting rid of funding for abortion overseas, because he thought abortion should not be a way to keep the population under control. Now to touch on some of the domestic policies that Reagan has put into place. Economically, the United States was in a very bad place when Ronald came into presidency. There were high taxes and high unemployment rates, which Reagan wanted to put an end to. In 1981, Reagan signed the Economic Recovery Tax Act, which helped reduce people's income tax rate, also helped people start saving. He also passed the Tax Reform Act of 1986, which significantly lowered individual income taxes. Also under Reagan's administration, he helped the economy by creating 20 million jobs, dropped inflation by 13.5% to 4.8%, lowered unemployment rates, and families' net worth of income annually grew 27%. African American employment rates rose 25%, and a lot of more jobs were going to women. Reagan also touched on many different aspects, including environmental awareness, criminal control, and the bettering of school systems. That concludes my lecture, and I thank you for all your time today.
Alright, next let's hear from Carly.
Hello everyone. Today I will enlighten you all on the issues that have been occurring throughout the world with terrorism. Going all the way back to 1981, there was an incident with Libya. They attacked a U.S. aircraft carrier, and as a result, they were later shot down. Then, in 1983, a truck bomb was detonated that killed 241 Marines, an immeasurable loss. Another thing in 1983, President Reagan approved an overnight raid in Grenada. It was called Urgent Fury, to announce later that it was a complete success. And finally, in 1986, an airstrike was ordered on Libya. These actions were a result of terrorist acts in Berlin that killed two U.S. servicemen. Terrorism is overall on a rise. President Reagan promised to watch it carefully. We will see what happens. Thank you.
One final thing before we go. One last lesson on two of Reagan's top concerns, the Cold War and communism.
Hello again, everyone. I'm sure all of you are familiar with what the Cold War is and what nuclear weapons are. Oh, you don't? Well, let's check with our friends over at Crash Course.
Hi, I'm John Green. This is Crash Course World History, and today we're going to talk about the Cold War, which actually lasted into my lifetime, which means that I can bore you with stories from my past like your grandpa does. When I was a kid, they made us practice hiding under our desks in the event of a nuclear attack because, you know, school desks are super good at repelling radiation. Mr. Green, right, remember in elementary school there was this special guest who defected from the Soviet Union, and he had like this crazy Russian accent, and he kept going on about how Reagan should spit in Gorbachev's face instead of signing treaties with him. And I was like, whoa, dude, calm down. You're in a room full of third graders. And then for months afterward on the playground, we'd play Reagan Gorbachev and spit in each other's faces. Those were the days. Sometimes I forget that you're me from the past. Yeah, it's just really nice to talk to you and feel like you're listening. You're boring. Cue the intro. So the Cold War was a rivalry between the USSR and the USA that played out globally. We've tried to shy away from calling conflicts ideological or civilizational here on Crash Course, but in this case, the clash of civilizations model really does apply. Socialism, at least as Marx constructed it, wanted to take over the world, and many Soviets saw themselves in a conflict with bourgeois capitalism itself. And the Soviets saw American rebuilding efforts in Europe and Japan as the US trying to expand its markets, which, by the way, is exactly what we were doing. So the US feared that the USSR wanted wanted to destroy democratic and capitalist institutions, and the Soviets feared that the US wanted to use its money and power to dominate Europe and eventually destroy the Soviet system. And both parties were right to be worried. It's not paranoia if they really are out to get you. Now, of course, we've seen a lot of geopolitical struggles between major world powers here on Crash Course, but this time there was the special added bonus that war could lead to the destruction of the human species. That was new for world history, and it's worth remembering it's still new. Here's the period of time we've discussed on Crash Course, and this is how long we've had the technological capability to exterminate ourselves. So that's worrisome. Immediately after World War II, the Soviets created a sphere of influence in Eastern Europe, dominating the countries where the Red Army had pushed back the Nazis. Which is why Winston Churchill famously said in 1946 that an Iron Curtain had descended across Europe. While the dates of the Cold War are usually given between 1945 and 1990, a number of historians will tell you that it actually started during World War II. Stalin's distrust of the US and Britain kept growing as they refused to invade Europe and open up a second front against the Nazis, and some even say that the decision to drop the first atomic bombs on Japan was motivated in part by a desire to intimidate the Soviets. That sort of worked, but only insofar as it motivated the Soviets to develop atomic bombs of their own. They successfully tested their first one in 1949. From the beginning, the US had the advantage because it had more money and power and could provide Europe protection, what with its army and one-of-a-kind nuclear arsenal, while Europe rebuilt. The USSR had to rebuild itself, and also they had the significant disadvantage of being controlled by noted asshat Joseph Stalin. I will remind you, it's not cursing if he's wearing an ass for a hat.
What a great explanation that was. It's exactly the background information you guys need to know in order to understand the foreign policies Reagan put in place. As you know, the US and the USSR have been in an arms race since the end of World War II. And you might be wondering, what are they racing for? Well, they are racing to be the biggest and best naval superpower in the whole world. Each side created nuclear bombs. The United States made the first nuclear weapon, but very shortly after, the Soviet Union successfully created one also. Oh, now you don't know what a nuclear bomb is? A nuclear bomb is extremely destructive. Not only at the moment it is detonated, but for a while after also. So the Cold War happened and is still going on. Now, we have several bombs, and the USSR has several bombs also. Keeping all those bombs seems pretty dangerous, doesn't it? Especially since they could kill off the human race if they were ever actually used. Well, Reagan thought the same thing. Reagan noticed the Soviets were spending a lot of money on their military and arms, and Reagan felt that there was a unsafe balance. Therefore, the Reagan administration increased their military spending, put some more money and time into creating more weapons. All of this trying to be better than one another started to get old, and the President Reagan wanted to slowly get rid of the arms race that was going on between the US and the USSR, and later signed a treaty with the USSR leader, Gorbachev, to get rid of some nuclear weapons and stop producing as many nuclear and normal weapons. Of course, neither side totally got rid of all their nuclear weapons, but Reagan's foreign treaty with the Soviet Union helped put an end to the race. Thanks for all your time.
Thank you so much, Jennifer and Carly, for coming in today and giving us the lectures. I hope everyone viewing has gained something from this. Tune in next week. Good night, America!